That's the crazy thing about real estate is a lot of times deals don't look the same. Most of the time, they look very different from each other because there's always different people and different situations involved.
What's up, junkies? Welcome back to another episode of the RE Junkies podcast. We are joined again today by Tom Murphy. He's agreed to stick around for a quick bonus episode with us. And for those of you guys that have been listening along, you know what's about to come. The bonus episode is where we highlight a case study or we share just a specific story. So, Tom, we've got 3 prompts for you. You can pick one, and then we'll dive in. All right. So here are the options. What was your hardest deal or a horror story around that? What was your most successful deal? Or what is the craziest story you have in real estate? Which one are you going to pick?
Well, I'm going to pick the first one, the
I'm
horror
scared.
story.
All right.
And it was one of our first deals. It was 2 brothers who had been, the house had gotten theirs because their mom had passed away. And it was in an area that we didn't know real well. Very early on in our real estate decision making. And so I went up at night, met these gentlemen, nice as could be. Walked around the house with my flashlight and walked in the house. Of course, all the belongings were in there, and you really couldn't see a lot of stuff. And so I made an offer, and I put it under contract for, I forgot how much it was, like $46,000 or something like that. And I had the ARV set and all. I thought I did everything, but we started going into the house, and after they moved out, first of all, they left a lot of stuff there. So. More than I had, I think,
Before
accounted
that, talk about the whole estate process and how 15 more heirs just happened to pop up.
Yeah, once we
Let's
got
not forget
we
that.
got our attorney involved. Yeah, once we got our attorney involved, and I started getting calls from him. He'd say, "Well, we found another heir. There's 2 more." And I think there were 16 or 17 heirs that had to sign off on this thing over the course of time. And of course, that makes an attorney's life a nightmare because you always have that 1 or 2 that don't want to sell mom and dad's house, and all the others that are telling them to because there's money on the table and things like that. So that's certainly, I don't think that attorney ever worked with us again. But yeah, in a nutshell, they had a homemade septic system. The well didn't work. It was a shallow well, and it didn't work. There was some asbestos in there. There was significant termite damage behind the sheetrock walls. The plumbing was destroyed. The best part about it was we went in a particular bedroom, and there was this carpet over the hardwood floor, and removed the carpet. And there's this door. That's kind of interesting. What is this? Like a tornado shelter in the floor. So, I lifted the thing up and pulled it aside, and there's some stairs going down there. I remember the guy that was with, and I don't know if you were there with me or not, Kate, and I thought, I'm not sure. There are probably dead bodies down. I'm not sure I want to go down here. So, I shine a flashlight, go down in there, and there's this old beat up water heater and an oil drum and just a carved out space in the earth that we ended up having to fill in with some concrete mixture, and fix we had obviously put a septic system in, which we didn't account for, dig a well, which we hadn't accounted for, significant termite remediation. So we lost money, big time money on this project. But as Caton had alluded to earlier, we learned a lot. The due diligence phase of doing something. The eagerness to want to get a deal superseded intelligence, and I think subsequent deals after that, I got a little smarter in how I'm analyzing the deal and the things I need to look for, and or bringing the right people in to look on things I didn't understand or couldn't figure out. But that was we lost a lot of money on that deal.
Yeah. Now, first off, I want to also reframe the losing money for people listening at home, because what not a lot of people understand is every real estate investor will lose money on a deal at some point in their career.
Yep.
That's a given. The
Yep.
more times you lose, the more times you win as well.
Mhm.
And I also want to point out that you guys were in a position, and you are in a position to now be sitting here today saying we lost a lot of money on that deal, and you guys are still standing. You guys are
Yep.
still, you made it through that deal. I mean, there are some times that people will get started on a deal, or get started in real estate, and they cannot possibly weather a storm of losing 20, 30, 50, $100,000 on a deal, and they'll never weather that storm. So there is a vast difference. And so I just want to reframe that, because it's like that is a huge mindset. You talk about starting from within, like you did in your primary episode here. um Mindset of making and losing money is probably one of the most important things to get started in your career. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely. You're spot on. You're going to lose money. Your first of all, your goals and ambitions have to be stronger than the defeat that comes with losing money. There's lots more money out there. There's lots more people that are going to help you get into other deals. And guess what? You're going to have more confidence and you're going to be smarter on the next deal. It's kind of like a marathoner, with a passion run a marathon, and he runs his first mile and says, man, this hurts. I'm pained. I got knees. I'm quitting. And those who succeed say, okay, yep, that pain was part of the process. I'm gonna move on, and guess what? Tomorrow I'm going 2 miles, and it's gonna hurt just as bad, but that mile marker you just flew right past, and now you're going towards that next goal. So you've got to endure and persevere in those cases. Yep.
Well, one of my mentors always says too, the first mile, first off, we know the first mile is the hardest, but a lot of times she says the first mile is the liar, because it's like once you get past that first
Hmm.
mile, which is everything that's trying to stop you, it's like, okay, I found my stride. Mile two is not very hard. Mile three, I'm cruising, things like that. So
Yep.
it's kind of like once you push through that first mile, that first deal, where you're going to learn a
Yep.
lot, and
Right.
about yourself too, and you got to just get to the next one. And
Yep.
that's the crazy thing about real estate is a lot of times deals don't look the same. Most of the time they look very different from each other because there's always different people and different situations involved. So it's kind of it's a fail forward faster kind of thing. And that's not a it's not an advertisement to go lose a lot of money on a lot of deals, but it's to go take that action, do your due diligence, and learn your lessons along the way.
And have a mentor. There's nothing wrong with having your first deal, going to meet up and meeting some people or something like that have been in the business in a while and who are willing to partner with you on the deal, so that you do learn these things the soft way, with somebody that's been through them with you. And I think that's a superpower that people don't take advantage of nearly enough in any profession. It may could real estate, it could be high tech, it could be anything, winemaking. It's partnering with somebody that has been there before. Are you going to make as much money if you did it alone? No. Are you going to not lose as much money if you did go alone and make a mistake? Yes, you're not going to lose that much money, and you'll get through it. So yeah, it's working with folks on those first deal or two. We didn't do that.
Absolutely. We didn't do that. Hey, but you learned.
We learned. Yep.
Let's talk for a second about about all the heirs and all the process that took. And looking back on it, was there a way for you to find that out without getting into the contract process?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
How all the heirs just popped up. You had all those
Oh,
extra
oh.
heirs,
Hmm.
coming. Was there
Yep.
anything you could have done to find that out
Yeah.
before, the attorney found out? Because hearing the story, I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds like there wasn't a way to find that out. And I know from, dealing with a lot of estates, sometimes I mean, you don't know it all till you get
Hmm.
knee deep in it.
Yeah.
Well, part of the process, at least the way we analyze deals, the part of the process that I do is I go into the county records and look at the deed and things like that. And so I didn't do that on that particular project, and I started doing it afterwards. Um, I'd look at the tax records and things like that. But when you start looking at the deed, oftentimes a lot of those errors start popping up. And not that I think that would have deterred me. It probably would have requested of us, Laura, Kate, and I, let's go talk to an attorney first and see how difficult it is to make this deal work. Because my gosh, there's 16 people listed on these 6 or 7 pages of this deed. Is this really something we want to do? Would probably have been was the learning lesson on that going forward. Just takes 15 minutes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then was it a due diligence part of, estimating repairs and things that caused you guys to lose that money? I mean, just some of the things inside the walls,
Yeah.
like, is what it is, or do you think it was kind of an overbidding to try to get one of your first houses? I mean, what was?
Yeah, and that's spot on, Brooks. It was, for me personally, an overbidding to try to get one of our first houses. I felt like, okay, we've done all this, we've invested in our education, nothing's happening, and this came in off of one of our mailers, and so it's like, oh, good, somebody actually has a deal, and so all the way out to the house, I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make this work. Our first deal to get to brag about it and all that other stuff, and so my mind was already set. That wasn't a good place to be, because at
Mhm.
that point in time, I saw the house, and it was at night. I mean, you start chalking all these things up, going, "Oh, you really made a lot of mistakes here, Tom."
Mm-hmm.
You don't analyze a house at night and put it under contract. Walking around the outside, oh, it looks fine. And look on the, I mean, you just, there's smart ways of doing these things, or at least in the due diligence phase, allowing the opportunity to come out during the day and look at the house. And so, I think that, yeah, pride, it was the desire to want to jump in, and then the lack of experience. We had the education, but it's kind of like, you go through spring training in football. All the colleges are in spring training now, and they're learning all of the basics and everything else. They get out on the field and they make mistakes. Sometimes those mistakes turn into touchdowns for the other team and things like that. So it's kind of the same way. I'd been in spring training. We'd gone through all this training, and I went out and I made mistakes. It certainly enhanced our education going forward. But yeah, it was there are plenty of things that I did wrong, because Lauren Kate did not go on that analysis with me. I did that myself. That I can point to my eagerness to get the deal that was the culprit.
I mean, in fairness, you didn't. It's not like you just saw things while you were walking the house and then you didn't write them down on the repair estimator. I mean, in fairness, it was dark, so you just didn't see them. So technically, they didn't exist until that next day.
Right.
Well, and it's like a well and a
Yeah.
septic. It's like, well, how do you know
Yeah.
that that was homemade without getting into it, when you're just
Yeah,
walking a
that's.
Right.
surface level tour?
I was gonna ask about that.
Right.
How a homemade septic tank? What?
Well, we found that out late in the game, as we had the county inspector come out to look at the well. And, it was a shallow well, which they don't do anymore. And I needed advice as to what do we do with his well, because you're supposed to fill them in and then have that recorded. Your county's supposed to inspect it and everything else, to make it official and record that. And so they came out and they said, by the way, we didn't see a septic permit for this house. I said, we've got to have a septic. They've been living in it for like 20, 30, 40 years. There's no permit for it. Maybe it was before we started recording. And he said, let's try to figure out. So we found out where the sewer came out of the house. They start poking around. And he said, guess what you got? And I said, what? He says, you got a homemade septic system, a bunch of bricks. They dug a pit with a backhoe. They put a bunch of bricks up to make the holding tank, and they bought corrugated pipe, plastic corrugated pipe, from Lowe's, and ran it out their backyard. And for years, that's what they
Oh
used as
my
their septic.
God.
And so now the county inspector says, not only do you have to remediate that, but you have to be able to prove to the county that there's not contamination in the soil from this homemade septic tank, and you're going to take all of that out, and we're going to have to come out and find new field lines for you, leach lines for you on this property, and then you're going to put in another septic system.
Oh.
We didn't put that in the repair estimator.
No, we did not have that in the repair estimator. Oh my
Contingencies
God.
are important.
Yeah.
Well,
And that was the other
contingencies-
piece, is the contingency. Yeah.
Contingencies, and we've learned to finalize those big ticket items before we get into the project, right? Like, do that during the
Right.
due diligence
Right.
before closing day, because then we can go back and renegotiate if we need to. And
Right.
gosh, but again, I mean, those are learning lessons, and they're expensive, they suck. It's part of the game.
We had another deal a year after that one where, talk about lesson learned, with the homeowner wanted it to go under contract immediately, but they had a septic system. I said, I need to have the septic system inspected first. If you're going to do that, I'm going to sell it to the next person. I said, fine. If you're not going to give me 24 hours to have somebody inspect the septic system so I can allow for it, or my negotiated purchase price goes up by X amount in anticipation of that. I said, no, I'll sell it to somebody else. I said, fine, go ahead. I know there's another deal out there for me.
Absolutely.
So passed on
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, have at it. And I've even sat at a kitchen table and told some of these sellers, like, this is exactly why I'm asking for this. And I'll take them back and run them through the whole thing. And I'm like, how ugly is that going to get between us if this happens? And instead, just give me a little bit of extra time so I can know going into it. Or what I tell them is, hey, if you're not willing to give me the time to do my proper due diligence, then all the things that I can't see, I'm going to assume they need to be fully replaced because I'm taking on that risk, and the purchase price is going to reflect it. So which one would you rather have? Right?
Yep. Well, you have probably one of the most polished negotiation skills of most anybody I've run across. You really do. And not only the way you
Thank you.
convey with somebody, there's a certain amount of confidence and trust that the receiving party adheres to. But I so thoroughly enjoy hearing some of the deals you've negotiated and how you've navigated the uncharted waters to make that deal work. And kudos to that skill set you've picked up.
Thank you. Well, it comes from a lot of practice and probably way too much legal knowledge than I should rightfully have. When I sit down with our attorneys at happy hour and they're like, you shouldn't know this shit. They're like, we've been teaching you way too much, and you
well, maybe they should stop going to happy hour with you then.
Probably should, honestly. It probably should, but they keep inviting me, so
Oh, gosh.
here I am.
Just see them after they leave the happy hour and Brooks has gone his way. They'll say, I can't believe what you just told him. This is going to be great to see what he does with it.
I know. I did actually find earlier, last time I was at happy hour, they said, they're looking for another attorney in their office. And I was like, well, I didn't go to law school, but all I have to do is pass the bar exam, right? And he's like, yeah, if you can pass the bar, you can practice law. And I was like, He's like, we do have another attorney in our office who gave up his real estate career after, I think he's like 45 or 50. And he's like, then just started practicing law. And I was like, maybe I'll be an attorney in retirement.
I could
Brooks
see you
does
doing
things
that.
the opposite way.
Yeah.
Honestly though, I always wanted to be an attorney. And then because of my negotiation and debate skills, I always wanted to be an attorney. And then I got down to learning how much schooling you had to go through. And I was like, nope, I'm done. That is a no
So
for
would you
me.
want to be a litigation attorney, doing high profile cases, or what kind of attorney would you want to be?
I would love to see the courtroom. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
would
I
love
could
to
see
see the
that.
courtroom. Um,
Yeah.
I think some, negotiations and things like that's really where you can get into negotiations. I don't think I mean, sometimes on the, of course, the civil side, you can get there, but if it's just, random, like, I don't want to be just like paperwork and
Right.
drafting contracts, drafting things like that.
Right.
That's fun to me, but yeah, no, being in the courtroom absolutely would be that's where I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
be.
I could so see that. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I think it's in you.
We'll see. We'll see how retirement looks.
Well, that was a great deal. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't a great deal, but it was a great story.
Yes, that was a great story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, Tom, and thank you for sticking around for the bonus episode. For those of you that want to catch all of Tom's episode, it should be the one right next to this one on your favorite podcasting platform. Tom dove through his career changes, his family business, learning lessons, and everything that has propelled him to where he is today with his family business, and of course, Kaiten and Laura and Ellie.
Mm.
And the beautiful part, I think, that really hit home in that first episode, Tom, was the motivation as well as the mindset work that you have done with yourself to get to where you are now. So, for those of you listening to this episode, go check out his main episode. He dropped a ton of great information, and we will catch all of you junkies next time on the RE Junkies podcast. And be sure to like and subscribe this podcast and leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. We'll catch you soon.